I lost my chart board. I don't know what happened to it. So, until I can find it, I've drawn on my sticky note pad what the essentials are to the economy and why I support a Marxist brand of economics. Because apparently my viewers are stupid. Most of them are trolls that just come to my page to piss me off, but a couple of them authentically believe what they say. And they do not comprehend how this game works. It happens all the time. It's always happened throughout history. You can't see it very well because it's on a little sticky note, but you see all the happy little people smiling and holding hands. That's the unions. That's collectivized labor. That is socialism, hopefully toward communism. Now, obviously capitalists don't like this. In the 1970s, for instance, the force of labor was at a peak. Unions were at an all-time high, there was collective bargaining, and it was bad for capitalism, because the bourgeoisie are not satisfied with just making a higher income. They want to own shit. They want to own land, they want to own resources, they want to own you. So, Reaganomics and all this other Republican shit caged up the unions, as you see the little man in jail, because they deregulated the market. They made it a crime to be a today, in modern 2011, it is a crime to protest. They want to make it where you need a permit to protest. You need a permit to have a political opinion. You need to sign a waiver and shit to freaking tent outside. These people aren't coming armed with bazookas and Uzis, but meanwhile they're treating them like hardened criminals. They're smoking crack in Washington. So, when you deregulate the market, they're not liable for anything, and there's no unions to try to stop them. There's no nothing. What do you think is going to happen? Lower wages, lower standards of living, etc. Well, then how do you accommodate that when you don't have a demand for your supply? You have all this shit to sell, but no one to sell it to because they don't have the money to juggle the demands of food, shelter, and your crap. So what they do is they shift the problem to the third world, hence the little blackface guy with the broom. Because this is what happens. They get other poor minorities and in other countries to, carry the burden of the working class. This is where the Maoist perspective comes in of third worldism. But, so you get these poorer people, even poorer than our poor, to do the work, and so the products are made cheaper, but who decides what's cheaper? The bourgeoisie. It's not us deciding what's cheaper. So they get these other poor saps to do it, and so they sell us the products cheaper, and the economy continues. But that can't last forever, because eventually all those poorer people are going to take the jobs of our poor. What's going to happen then? Well, what's going to happen is economic collapse, because then you can't buy shit because you don't have a job. You can't even buy a house or go to the grocery store or whatever. So then they decided to create credit. Credit says, well, you don't have to pay us right now. You can pay us later. But later never comes. Some people, you could go the rest of your life and not be able to pay back what you owe. So, while credit worked in the short term, worked for about 10, 20 years, eventually that's starting to pile up too. Hence this big mountain of debt. Don't think of this as like a hill or a literal rock mountain. Think of it as like a big dump, a big garbage heap that smells horrible and is piling up bigger and bigger until finally it falls on the city. And what is this debt going to lead to? Well, when debt cannot be paid off, eventually the bourgeoisie are going to get violent that it's costing them more to wait for you to pay your debt than they are collecting it. So then they start taking your shit, what little shit you have, which you see now with the repo men. They romanticize the repossession institution like they're fucking heroes. They're not. The people that are repossessing the houses and things already have a lot. There are more houses than people. We have houses collecting dust because no one can afford them. But meanwhile, they want to repossess the houses that people haven't paid their mortgage on in a couple months. deal with it. Because it makes no sense that you refuse to bring down the cost of housing when there are more houses than people that can afford them. There is something wrong with you. But since the bourgeoisie figure they own everything, they don't have to answer to anybody. It's that moderator mentality. I have the amend panel, I can ban you, therefore I can do what I want. That is, until someone breaks their fucking legs. And then when someone breaks their legs, oh, that person's crazy, that person's violent, don't listen to them. No, you should listen to them, because you could have easily avoided your legs being broken had you not fucking been a dick in the first place. So, what does that lead to? Bam, mushroom cloud. Because eventually, people are just gonna freak out. They're gonna freak out when they realize they can't afford to live. They will die unless they do something heinous. You know, it will come to the point where it is fight or flight. Their survival mechanisms will kick in, and it will be brutal. And unfortunately, people are fucking stupid, and they won't just take their violence out on the bourgeoisie, so a lot of them will survive, unfortunately. But they'll just be haphazard in the streets, rioting, bloodshed. It'll be incompetent. It'll be, you know, it'll be needless. You know, there's no need for that kind of violence, but that's what it's going to be. They're not going to be organized violence, because if people were that smart, they never would have let it got this bad to begin with. But all that bullshit will lead to reform that will lead us back to the happy little union guys. And we will repeat this process over and over again until someone gets the idea that we don't need any of this shit. That when you get rid of the concept of private ownership and, you know, you get rid of the concept that the owner does not have any responsibility, and that everything around you is a collective dynamic. It is the group that makes it. Nobody is singly responsible for what we have, so no single person should have authority over it. That's why moderators do not have authority over their forums. That's why just because we elect a political leader does not make him the monarch. He is simply a representative. And I don't even think they should be the ones deciding the laws, voting on them and writing them and shit. I think that should be a collective thing, a pure democracy. But, you know, you get my point. No single person can do all this, so thus no single person should have control over all of this. But, you know, that makes me the idealist. That makes me the lazy communist that just doesn't want to work. You're going to lose everything. You're going to lose your family. You're going to lose your house. You might even lose your life. And you will continue to live in this delusional world that is everything's fine, and that the rich just worked really hard, and that's why they're in the positions they're in. And that all the bad in the world is just shit happens. There's no explanation for it. The invisible hand of the free market. It's fucking magic. You know? It is a religion. Capitalism is the most dogmatic, most dangerous religion in the world. It is more dangerous than radical Islam, than radical Christianity, because fucking neoliberalism has destroyed the left wing too. It has focused our attention on stupid shit, like, how do the gays feel? How do women feel? I don't give a fuck how gays and women feel. I give a fuck how I feel. I give a fuck how I'm treated. I give a fuck about my rights. I give a fuck about the workers, and about how we're not getting dick out of anything, and about how we get treated like slaves, like legally defined slaves. And if you look at most laws, we are slaves. When you look at your social security card, your name is in all capital letters. That signifies you're property. You're not a person. A person's name is written with one capital letter in the front and then the rest in small letters. A thing that is all small letters is a non-liability noun. So you are not even just a thing. You are a piece of equipment. You are an asset. You need to get that through your head or just fucking die.